How's it going, guys? I'm PhilInTheBlanks. Welcome back to Let's Play Phoenix Wright Rise from the Ashes. We are learning about the supposed other murder with the other Bruce Goodman. I don't know. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. Yeah, poor Meekins. So he's not really lying. I mean, he's confessing to stuff, so I guess I just want to find out more. When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? We kind of saw that earlier. I mean, this is circumstantial, but I mean, victims, Neil Marshall. So I think Jake has a lot more stake in that than we think. That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card? I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. Oh, when he was there investigating. He probably just left it there. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. But he could because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck on the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins, I knocked him out. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. That's probably the knife that he has right in his hand right now. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person, mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? I always did find that weird how much, this is a Japanese thing? Why would the prosecutor determine stuff? Why is the prosecutor the boss of, the detectives? You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It should be the detective should be, neutral. I mean, everyone should be neutral, technically. Even the defense, they're just trying to show a defense. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way, with me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? It is that one. I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Meekins out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught by camera. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, your bloodied coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on that day, there wasn't any murder in the evidence room. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on the tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker? Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Dang, so he didn't even get what he needed. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID? Injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. We're getting the sad backstory music. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. Oh, I can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? That case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Dark was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for sure is he deserved his sentence. I remember the Joe Dark case. It involved serial murders, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out, but there's something that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I better take another look at the files, just in case you didn't before. Alright, so pretty clearly, let's present him with the file cases that we got right before this part of the trial. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. Speaking of cactus juice, yum yum. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago. Yep, there we are. He received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? He must be talking about the King of Prosecutors award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. What's his relation to you? He was my brother. Aww. That's the thing, like, it's, like, again, like I said, it's pretty clear that Marshall's not the killer of Bruce Goodman, because he was pretending to be Bruce Goodman. But, like, you gotta sympathize or empathize with him a little bit. Like, I don't know, I just feel bad. So I do like how he's got the Western thing, and it looks like Neil has, like, the Australian hat kind of thing. I don't know if that's what they were going for, I have no idea. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, the then Deputy Chief of Police. Yep, and there's all of them together. And it's kind of cool how they put Neil kind of in the corner there where you kind of can't see him because of the speech, like your speech bubble's kind of in the way. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Oh, creepy. He just looks like this just normal guy. It's so weird. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. So thankfully he didn't die in vain, I guess. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed. At least, according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. Oh, I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? So, this is my thing in terms of the voice acting stuff. So I've been using this voice for Jake this whole time. But when they get serious like this, you see how he drops the whole Texas stuff? I'm always wondering if I'm supposed to, like, drop the silly voice, because, like, is the silly voice a front? and now he's being really him. I don't think so with Marshall. I think he just always is like that. But there's a couple of characters later on in the series where, like, they kind of go through a personality change because they're confessing to something. I have to decide whether or not I'm going to change their voice during that time. like Yanni Yogi in the last case, right? Like stuff like that. There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Sounds like it was just like bad timing with the actual murder of Bruce Goodman. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. Which goes to, yeah, the things that happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than just that. So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office's parking lot was the real one, which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. But wait, a verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me, this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries at the police department have been resolved, no doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. And the testimony of one Miss Angel Star is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. Arg! That is a single word. Well, we lost. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was fake. But I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... Objection! Hold it! Emma! Yeah, we all knew it was going to happen. Your Honor, wait! Emma? The defense is an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor? Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor. All I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I wonder if this will actually take exactly 3 minutes. That'd be kind of cool. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Skye sisters were in that file. That's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing, the other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry. I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. Please, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh, boy. Time's up. That was probably not 3 minutes. Maybe it wasn't enough. Now then, Mr. Wright, with regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. But it was just jelly. Strawberry jelly. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this?
Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be more use, but still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be.
Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If ever I've needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? Sure. I actually don't know where this is going. This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? Oh, sorry, missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let us pray the defense is simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans? Oh, God. Videotape, bloody prints. The jar hasn't done anything yet, but it wasn't there. It didn't matter. Locker, glove, floor plans, ID, the screwdriver. Oh yeah, that was in the back. Okay, that was wrapped in the muffler. Fingerprint set, ID card, luminol, switchblade knife. No, that was in the muffler. What was the screwdriver? Whatever. Shoe, phone, badger, parking step, knife. Oh, the blue badger was at the evidence room. Oh, was it blocking the thing? Oh, it's blocking the thing. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, cool. If it's not this, I legit have no idea. The music didn't stop. That's... Oh. What about that piece of plywood? Oh, good. The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force. Defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Boink! Was it really that close? I mean, it would have been farther away. I mean, they were going... Were they going behind or in front of the Blue Badger? I can't make it go faster. I don't think it was that close to it. I mean, he's obviously still blocking it. I know this is just a me thing. Oh, yeah, okay, he was that close. They were going in front of him. I guess it makes sense. He would have been that tall, so. Well, what? Gasp. That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it will be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the locker. Yeah, makes sense. What? Yeah, I mean, why would you go out of the way to go put your hand behind the Blue Badger into the locker? So that means, just exactly what does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me, I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. Emma, on that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. And let's take a look at the list of names. So Mike Meekins at 450. So it's either that person at the top with all 7s at 420, or it was Miles Edgeworth who left it there. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. I hate how it has to wait until the thing gets to a certain part before the text will keep going. Someone bled prior to the story shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. Just 1 second, just checking something. Well, he didn't go in there, though. Unless it was, like, before that day. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. Did we find out if the blood was was Bruce Goodman's blood, though? So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To summarize, the defense claims that, prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, got complicated, another incident took place in that evidence room. That's right, the blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well, then tell us, when did this first incident occur, as Mr. Edgeworth said? Proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place? I guess the only thing I really have is the list here, because the only thing about times and stuff. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it. And in order to do so, an ID card would have been required. An ID card? Oh! And the ID card record! Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50 p.m. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m. Mr. Edgeworth! Or Miles Edgeworth. Just what have you done? I never would have figured you had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. I mean, I don't know. Could have killed him and then put him in the trunk of his own car and then brought him over to the prosecutor's office. It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other card number remaining, 77777777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 77777777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number is 77777777. That's 1 7 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 777777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Someone who is so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous! Just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask you a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked up her ID number. And it's not 77777777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing. About that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? And they don't really have a really place to put Lana, so they just kind of have to keep them swapping back and forth from the witness chair or whatever. Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Lana! I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant! Just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. Oh, shit. But Lana! Even if it involved forging evidence. Wow. It's not a good look. Plus, it sucks for Miles, too. It's like, oh man, I thought I won that nice. See? That's what I'm talking about. No. No! Oof, that's some raucous. Ooh. Order! 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 Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. Whoa! Holy nuts, so Lana! Oof. That's not good, that's not good. Alright, our last day of investigation. I'm PhilInTheBlanks, I'll see you guys next level. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this episode, click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to know when the next episode is up. If you want to support my channel, share some videos with some friends and consider supporting me on Patreon.